Welcome to a post-game edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. As always, it's your boy Mack. No Corey tonight. He's actually going to be celebrating his 25th birthday this weekend. Go out and wish him a happy birthday, would you guys? He's still young enough to fit right in with this current iteration of the Cleveland Cavaliers, ladies and gentlemen, with many of the current core being 26 or younger. But with that being the case, that youth was on full display tonight as the Cavs as a whole put on a pretty decent performance. I mean, it was one, nevertheless, it was a win. It was a win. I'm happy to be finally back in the win column. It was a W, so let me get that out of the way. Um, I have mixed emotions about this game, nevertheless, just because I feel like it should never have gotten to double overtime in the first place. There was a myriad of stellar performances, some career highs, from for at least one individual. But as a whole, the Cavs still have some issues to work out. This is not a finished product yet. At this moment in time, there are still a lot of things that the Cavs need to figure out. But let's get to some of the good. From Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell to Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, there was a lot of great performances, on an individual basis. And boy, did the Cavs need it. I mean, this game kind of had a lot of storylines heading into it. You had I'm not going to say demotion because I kind of campaigned for this myself, and I'm glad that they finally kind of pulled the trigger on it. And that is the move of Karis LeVert to the bench because there's a lot I feel that he could add there. Didn't go as planned tonight, obviously for him, as the Cavaliers bench would end up only scoring 13 of the Cavs 132 total points. So they left a lot of the scoring to the starters. And thank God the starters obliged because, you know, having to account for 119 points in your starting unit, that is an insane level of production from them, which was kind of punctuated by Darius Garland's 41 points tonight. But the crazy part about it is it wasn't him that impressed me the most tonight. It was actually none other than Evan Mobley. That honor kind of goes to him because he was all over the place tonight in a good way. The USC product put up his third double-double of the season with 21 points and a career high 18 rebounds, something that a lot of people have really wanted to see out of him. Him attack those boards, which to me was always kind of a funny complaint because for a player like him at his size who is able to step out and defend the perimeter, his rebounding numbers are not going to be sky high anyways. I mean, it's not unrealistic to imagine Evan Mobley, averaging upwards of 9, 10, 11 rebounds for a season. But, for him who is consistently having to kind of fluctuate between defending the perimeter and defending the rim, it's just one of those guys who's just very switchable. And I can live with him having lower rebound totals if he's providing in other areas. Tonight, however, was a case in which he had a pretty complete game. 21 points, career high 18 rebounds, 5 assists. That was really impressive. I mean, the big to big passing in this game was absolutely beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful to see some of the passing between the bigs, whether that be Jared Allen to Evan Mobley to Jared Allen, Kevin Love to some of these guys. Absolutely beautiful performance out of Evan Mobley and throw in 2 blocks and a steal in with that and on a pretty efficient night, 9 of 14 from the field. And you have the makings of a breakout performance from Evan Mobley, a guy who a lot of people believed heading into this season had defensive player of the year caliber potential, waiting for him, for him to finish in that category. And he's certainly been on a tear as of late, man. It's some exciting shit to see him go out there and play basketball, ain't it? The most impressive play of all tonight for me was when he snatched this man literally snatched Terry Rozier's shot attempt out of the air. Just completely snatched that shit out of the air. I'm like so stoked at the fact that this man is making plays out there like that. And I know some people think that at his size, oh, that's not that special of a play. When you take into account that this is a 6'11", 7-foot man, and he moves that nimbly, that is not something that you see every day, folks. I just want you guys to know that and appreciate that because Evan Mobley is Yeah, he's a unicorn. He's a very unique player. Guys with his blend of size and speed, just vision. There's a lot of different adjectives you could throw in there. He has a very unique blend, and I'm very, very excited about the potential of this man moving forward. Tonight was no different. That was just an all around complete performance on an individual level from Evan Mobley. It's just one of those things. You just have to sit back and appreciate just how awesome this young man is. As I said, there was a lot of great individual performances from tonight. You got literally the backcourt pairing of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell combined for 75 fucking points. 75 points. Jeez Louise. And we're not too far removed from Darius Garland's 51-point outburst against the Minnesota Timberwolves, where, in a losing effort, albeit Darius Garland still put up 51 points and really looked to be getting back to himself. And I know a lot of the question regarding Darius at this point, especially coming back from that eye injury, was, hey, the Cavs got off to a pretty hot start without Darius Garland. How is Darius going to actually function next to Donovan Mitchell when we have a consistent amount of games to really analyze, really view? Well, this is yet another example of a game in which these two can coexist. And the reason for that is it's twofold. It's the fact that they both are capable of playing off of one another. There's a lot of spot up shooting going on. The second part of that is the minute staggering that is occurring right now with Karis LeVert. There's a lot of different combinations that JB can employ, and I know that's another touchy subject that we'll get to here in a little bit. But for your backcourt to go out there and put up 75 points, even if it is double overtime, and you're bound to see some inflated stats in that regard, just because guys have to score, it's pretty telling that your starting backcourt can go out there and both put up 30 plus. I've been pleasantly surprised with the ability of these two to kind of coalesce. And, it was always due to be kind of a bumpy ride. Neither are, what you would consider a number two option. Neither had been number two options in the season prior. Darius Garland was the pretty much unquestioned number one for the Cavs last season, and Donovan Mitchell was that for the Utah Jazz for many seasons. So the real eye-opening thing here is, how well can these guys play off of one another? And you threw in the fact that they had to figure out what to do in regards to Karis LeVert, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And it just makes it all the more impressive. I mean, there was a lineup change in regards to that, and that ended up being Karis LeVert moving to the bench in favor of Lamar Stevens tonight. I want you to note, no Dean Wade in the lineup tonight. I do think that kind of played a factor in determining who was actually going to be in the starting unit. Lamar ended up playing 29 minutes. Even though he didn't score, he was still fairly productive on the defensive end. Now, though, if you look at if the plus minus, that is not going to tell you a pretty story. Minus 15 on the night for Lamar Stevens. And when Dean becomes healthy, I do not think that Lamar is going to end up starting. But nevertheless, I'm very happy from a production standpoint about what we've gotten from Lamar Stevens over the last few nights. Very, very good stuff there with him. But in regards to the LeVert benching, to me, it was a move that always kind of made sense just because, hey, you have ball handler A with Darius Garland. You have ball handler B with Donovan Mitchell, or 1A to 1B. Hell, both of them are capable of being 1A and 1A on any given night. But the troubling thing about starting Karis LeVert is that you're not going to get the best version of Karis LeVert when you do that. You're going to force Karis LeVert more often than not to play off ball. You're really going to relegate him to spot up shooting for the most part. And although he's been very good from range this season, in his totality, he still is not completing enough 2-point attempts for the stat sheet really to look good in his favor. So a move to the bench always made sense because he is a guy who thrives with the ball in his hands, right? Like, of course, you can still start Karis LeVert and you can still get, you know, good production out of him. I mean, look at him. He's, like I said, he's relegated to spotting up and he's making the extra pass, hence why he's averaging, I believe, career high assist numbers right now at, you know, prior to tonight's game, obviously. I think he was at 5.1 a night. That's pretty damn impressive from your third or fourth option on any given night. And he's averaging, you know, prior to tonight, upwards of 12, I think it was 12.9 points he was logging. So that's pretty good production out of your third or fourth option. But you are never going to get the best version of Karis LeVert with him in that role, just because you have Darius Garland handling the rock most of the time. You have Donovan Mitchell handling the rock most of the time. Evan Mobley is going to get his playmaking duties because you want him to be able to expand on that part of his game, right? And you saw that tonight. Evan Mobley with 5 assists. We already talked about it. He can do that. He can facilitate. And you saw, hell, you even saw Jared Allen out there making some beautiful passes out there, and like the big to big throws. Anytime you have a cutter in Evan Mobley heading towards the rim, Jared Allen's going to find him, and Evan Mobley is no different. So when you factor all of those different guys into the lineup, the one guy who was probably going to end up suffering the most from a scoring standpoint was always going to be Karis LeVert, because you know Jared Allen's going to get his lob attempts. You know he's going to get his putbacks. You know Evan Mobley is going to contribute in any way he can, whether that be attacking the basket, whether that be from the three-point line, whether that be you know, some fadeaways, as we've seen him kind of grow accustomed to, not necessarily always being aggressive. That being the case, Karis LeVert was always a prime candidate to kind of suffer from a scoring standpoint. So the thought was to move him to the bench, add some of that much needed playmaking, much needed scoring with Ricky Rubio still nursing his injury, to the bench. And it seems to me like it's working, you know, at least right now. I think it's still the right move to have made, although you didn't get a lot of production out of the bench in its entirety tonight. The thing is, at the end of the day, right now, you know, the Cavs can get by without a lot of production from their bench, but it's not an ideal thing. It's not a good look. You cannot expect your starters to score 100 plus points as a collective unit together every single game. It's just not going to happen. Your role players, your bench unit is going to have to step up in some form or fashion. I don't care who the fuck you're playing. You're going to have to step up. 13 points from your bench unit is not going to cut it. And like I said, I've been pining for this. I've really been asking Karis LeVert to be moved to the bench just because I feel like what he brings to the table is best utilized there. But tonight was not necessarily a good night from a offensive production standpoint. One of those things that you're going to have to keep an eye on moving forward. As my daughter comes out here and wakes up from her sleep. Jeez. You okay? One of those things that you're going to have to kind of pay attention to at seasons, you know, coming to the All-Star break, because I think they're going to figure this out. I think it's just going to take some time. You know, with Karis tonight, not necessarily good production from the field. 1 of 8 from the field, and you know, on the night, and that's not great. I mean, he played 30 minutes tonight. I kind of figured he'd get somewhere between 24 to 28 minutes, and he exceeded that, obviously, with the overtime coming into effect and the fact that the Cavs, you know, they don't appear to trust Jetty Osman all that much right now, because we know how streaky he can be. They were without Dean Wade. They didn't really get a lot out of Kevin Love tonight from a point scoring standpoint, even if he did rebound pretty well. But at the end of the day, it's just trying to adjust. At the end of the day, you're going to have to figure out a way to get this bench unit going. And I think they're heading in the right direction with this move to the bench for LeVert, but it's not yet, or it didn't yet yield results tonight. It's just one of those things to keep an eye on moving forward. And I do not think by any stretch of the imagination that he is going to go 1 of 8 from the field every single night from now on if he does continue to come off the bench. However, yes, baby sighting. However, I do believe that he is going to need to adjust, because as we saw last season. I mean, he constantly shifted back and forth between the bench, whether and as a starter, as a second option to Darius Garland. So it's going to require another adjustment from Levert in order for him to truly look impactful. I mean, necessarily, I'm not making excuses for the guy. I just want to kind of put things into perspective because him moving to the bench is yet another adjustment for him. He spelled DG, he spelled Donovan Mitchell. They kind of staggered, and I like what JB Bickerstaff did, at least in that sense, because one of the first things he did, I believe, was sub in Levert for Garland to begin the game. It was a good move because you're seeing a lot of these starters play upwards of 35, 36, 37 minutes. I mean, hell, Donovan Mitchell, I think, was leading the league in minutes, prior to tonight's game. I could be wrong, but that's not a good look. That's not a good way to keep your players, your starters healthy. You got to be able to stagger these minutes in a way that the starters do get some rest. And I think they did accomplish that tonight, at least with Levert and Love. Isaac going out there doing some good things, but you're not going to be able to consistently rely upon playing your starters such heavy minutes. And you're not going to be able to rely upon your starter scoring 100 plus points, 100 plus points every night out. So you got to get some of these guys going. And we already know the deal. Like I said, Cedi Osman is a very streaky player. He's going to have his nights where he looks ultra confident, ultra aggressive from the 3-point line. Kevin Love is going to do what he's done for much of the last, season and a half, and that is put up big numbers when called upon. He's going to have his nights too. Now, Isaac Okoro, to me right now, he did some good things. I think he had a relatively decent game when you factor in his defensive efforts. When you look at his offensive output, it doesn't add up to a top 5 pick. But at the same time, for me, as I've continuously expressed on social media, I'm no longer looking at his draft status. Like, I just want this dude to provide something. I want him to be successful. And if anything, even if you're not playing him more than 15 to 20 minutes a night, that he's going to go out there and he's going to defend. That's one of the things. At the end of the day, Isaac Okoro can still go out there and play confident defense, tough-nosed defense. He's always going to give you that. Now, if he gives you something on the offensive end, and that's really just gravy. That's cherry on top at this point. I want him to succeed. I just don't know how likely it is for him to be a consistent offensive threat. That's about all I can say in that regard. It was nice to see him out there knock down a 3. That was big time for his confidence, I'm sure, as I believe he's only knocked down 2 on the season now. He was 1 of 2 from the field tonight, 50%, right? Small sample size. But that does not cut it for a high minute role. So that's why I only play 16 minutes tonight. You're going to eventually get Dean Wade back. I think that's going to factor in to who plays, who doesn't. You're eventually going to get Ricky Rubio back. I think that's definitely going to help the playmaking and the scoring, even if it is inefficient at times. He's definitely going to aid that. And I think Cavs put out some videos of him actually, I think, playing one-on-one with Isaiah Mobley earlier today, which is pretty encouraging. Like, I think his return is not far off. December, January, you never really know. I don't know what to expect from Rubio when he comes back, but he's definitely missed right now. I mean, 13 points. I continue to harp on it. 13 points from your bench is not going to cut it. You have to get more. I again think the move of Levert to the bench is definitely going to help at a certain point, but as she wants to stay high, it looks like. Stay high? Nope. Okay, yeah, she's still kind of tired. We're getting ready to go to bed, I promise. You're going to have to get more production out of your bench. That's the bottom line. Tonight was a game the Cavs kind of got away with. They should not have gone to double overtime. Yet another performance in which the Cavs squandered a lead in the fourth. I don't know what that's about, man. I don't know if it's a lack of urgency, to close games. I don't know if it's JB. I don't know if it's a combination of things because it's certainly possible that that is the case. I know a lot of people are going to put the brunt of the blame when these things happen on JB. JB's not a perfect coach. I mean, at the end of the day, he has some areas in which he needs to work on. A lot of that is in the X's and O's department. A lot of that is in the rotations. But at the end of the day, he can't go out there on the court, outside of complaining about calls, which he received some flack about that. They cost the Cavs some points because of technical fouls. But it is ultimately up to the players to go out there and perform. And I think they're going to figure this out eventually. It's just going to take some time. You have to give guys the benefit of the doubt. Everybody's still trying to gel with one another. Everybody is still trying to figure out where they fit best. And the Cavs have just played, they haven't even crossed the 20 game mark yet. You have to give these things time before considering any type of move, before considering any type of, hard stance on anything. It's so dang hard to evaluate these things when you don't have large sample size of the starting unit together, when you don't have your full complement of bench players and you're consistently missing somebody. Hell, we saw just how important the absence of Jared Allen is to this team. Like, we know that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are like the best players on this team, right? That's not crazy to say. But I also don't think it's crazy to say that Jared Allen might be one of the team's, most important players of all. His impact from a defensive standpoint as a rim protector is absolutely phenomenal. Like, the Cavs do not win tonight, and they don't win a lot of nights without the services of Jared Allen. He's that important to this team. He is that important. You okay? And go see mommy. Go to the bedroom. Parenting, right? He is that important to the Cavs and their defensive identity. I mean, and that is another aspect that has completely shifted this season. I think I'm sure a lot of you are, but a lot of people are still, I believe, forgetting the fact that this is a team that liked to play big last season. And they completely changed the mentality on that, because you go from having a 3 7-footer lineup with Lauri Markkanen, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen, who kind of threw something to the rest of the league that they weren't yet prepared to handle. Like, how do you handle that? And you see how awesome Lauri Markkanen is looking this season from an individual standpoint on the offensive end and the defensive end. But for the Cavs, who are really big on their defensive identity, last season completely shifted gears, opting to start Karis LeVert to begin the season. That was a big time shift. And I will applaud the fact that Karis LeVert has looked way better defensively than I think a lot of us have imagined. He's still not the type of defender. Well, I'm not going to say he's not the type of defender that Lauri Markkanen was, because it's not exactly like Lauri Markkanen was some all NBA level defender himself, but it just worked because Lowry had the size to really make up for a lack of lateral quickness on most nights. LeVert, on the other hand, is, the biggest thing to keep in mind is defense has a lot to do with effort. If you're giving consistent effort, if you're going out there and trying more often than not, good things are going to happen. And for LeVert this season, he has been a pretty good defender. Still very inconsistent numbers from inside the arc for him from an offensive standpoint, but from a defensive standpoint, I've been very happy with the production we've gotten from him. But I say all this to say that it's way too early to cast judgment, or final judgment rather, on JB Bickerstaff, because this is an adjustment for him too. This is real expectations this season. Last season, you're kind of playing with house money. This season is not the case. It's not title or bust by any means, but it is definitely not to the level that it was last season. There are real expectations this season, and there are a lot of eyes on JB. This could be considered a make or break season for him. Maybe not the team, but for him, there are a lot of eyes watching, whether that be in the front office, whether that be fans. Because God forbid the Cavs have a bad stretch of games. The first person everybody is going to turn on is JB. And I know this is kind of the Cleveland way of doing things here, apparently, that I've consistently been told. But I feel like we just got to stop that. Like, give the guy the benefit of the doubt for right now. See where the Cavs are at by the midway point, and if we're feeling good, we have good health on our side. I really think this team has barely scratched the surface. You got to give guys time. That's, I think, the biggest thing is patience. It's a very youthful team, very young team, still a lot of things to figure out, but they're not perfect. We kind of made them out to be contenders after that terrific start, the 7-8 game win streak. Awesome. But the truth is, the Cavs are still trying to figure things out. They're not yet true contenders. I think we can all sit back after watching this opening to the season and watching the slump occur that is the case. They're not yet contenders, and they're not yet title contenders, but that can change. That can definitely change as the season wears on. You just have to remain patient. I think for the Cavs, at the end of the day, they're going to have to shore up that 3. They're going to have to figure out who is exactly going to be the permanent starter, because I do not think it makes a hell of a lot of, I really just don't think it makes a lot of sense to go matchup based in that regard. I don't want to see not Dylan. Oh my God, Dylan. I don't know if we'll ever see Dylan. I don't want to see Dean starting one night, then Lamar starting another night, hell, Coral starting one night, and then, Karras back in the starting unit. That's the one thing I do not want to see. I do want them to pick, given health, provided good health. I just don't want there to be a matchup dependent label in regards to that. Just pick a damn starter and be done with it. If it doesn't work, obviously you can revisit things. Like, obviously you saw the JB, and this is one of the things that I'm happy with about him, is his connection with the players, his ability to go out there and connect with the players on both a personal, professional way and have those tough conversations. He's proven to be a player's coach in that regard. The one thing I don't want to see, though, is that 3 spot being consistently an opening or revolving door, rather. Just pick a starter. And I think once the team is healthy, I think what you're going to end up seeing is Dean Wade. I think Dean Wade is going to end up being the primary starter, the first option at least, given good health to be there. Followed by a combination of Karis LeVert and Lamar Stevens. Isaac Okoro is obviously going to factor in there too, but I think Isaac is going to get his minutes. All of these guys are going to be able to find minutes somewhere. Although somebody is going to kind of be left out in the cold here once the Cavs do get Dean Wade back. I think the most palatable option right now is going to be Dean Wade as the starter and Karis LeVert with a heavy minute roll off the bench, as we saw tonight. 30 plus minutes is not going to happen every single night for Karras, but I do think he can still manage between 24 to 28, which was my initial prediction to begin the night. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy the Cavs got the dub tonight. I do not want to see another overtime game for a while. My heart can't take it. I know a lot of you guys probably felt the same way, let alone a double overtime game. But the good thing that I can say, and the good luck that's on our side, is the Cavs happen to be 4-0 now in overtime. So that's a good thing, right? I mean, although they don't necessarily look too great closing games out in the fourth quarter, they've apparently mastered the ability to win games in overtime in the 5th period or 6th period in tonight's case. They have mastered that ability at least. So I do feel confident now heading into any overtime game that the Cavs can beat anybody. But I'll go ahead and point the obvious out here because I did not start this episode off like that, and that is the fact that this Charlotte Hornets team didn't exactly have its best player out there, LaMelo Ball. Now that's a big time loss for them. They did get Gordon Hayward back after he missed a stretch of games, but them missing LaMelo Ball provided a lot of us with confidence that the Cavs would go out there and kind of get their confidence back, beat up on the team a little bit, especially a team that does not have a winning record right now. So. And how can you blame anybody for feeling confident heading into the game with them not having the services of LaMelo Ball? Like their starters tonight, their starting lineup: Terry Rozier, PJ Washington, Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, and Mason Plumlee, who Jared Allen loves dunking on. It felt, I think the confidence in this Cavs team to begin the game was warranted. Like you saw Jared Allen come back. That was a huge boost. We knew that he was going to come to play. Evan Mobley definitely went out there to play, and you saw that in his in the stat sheet for him. And then the backcourt did what they did. Awesome. I think where the Cavs went wrong again was yet another fourth quarter collapse, and then the lack of production from the bench. Just got to get more out of there. And when you look at this thing from a statistical standpoint, in regards to team stats, Cavs didn't particularly shoot the three ball too well as a team tonight. 8 of 27 from range. That's good for 30%. 81% on free throws. The Hornets ended up shooting 83%. Turned the ball over way too many damn times, 19. And the Hornets definitely made sure that they paid for that. The assist game was pretty even, 24-25 in favor of the Cavs. And then the rebounds were as well, 51-52. The Cavs ended up getting out-rebounded, even though Jared and Evan did their part. 8 blocks, 8 steals. And then the Cavs definitely knew how to pour gasoline on the flame with, being able to draw 33, total fouls. So definitely one that the Cavs can, wipe their brow on and at least feel good about the fact that they won. But it was not a perfect game. The Cavs have some takeaways from this one, some things that they need to learn from. The fact that this bench, and I keep saying this, and I'll say it one last time before we get out of here, got to get more out of your bench. I don't know what you're going to do. I think Harris is going to rebound from shooting 1 of 8 from the field, but there has to be more consistency in regards to this bench unit. Somebody has to step up. Somebody has to be the alpha off the bench. And I think Harris has the ability and talent to do that. Time will tell how fast that happens, though. But with that being the case, like I always tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you can at itscavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you would like to be added to the exclusive It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of the review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I'll invite you. That said, go Cavs. Have a good night.